Everyone, and welcome to another live show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. Football's worst kept secret has now been revealed as Trent Alexander-Arnold confirmed that he will be leaving Liverpool. My initial reaction to the news, if I'm being honest, it was a bit of a surprise in terms of the timing because I wouldn't expect him to announce it straight after a game like yesterday, where, of course, we lost 3-1 to Chelsea and they didn't really have much value in terms of the outcome of our season. But having said that, strange timing just to do it after defeat. But I guess with these sort of announcements, there isn't really a great timing, is there? So yeah. Having said that, still surprised in terms of his and sort of timing of the announcement. Am I surprised by the decision? No. I've been saying it throughout the whole season. Out of the three players that were out of contract in terms of Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, I feel like he was the most likely player to leave on the basis of his age, his profile, where he's mid-20s and he's got plenty of years ahead of him to continue his career, play at the highest level. So I always felt like there was a strong possibility that he would leave. And of course, with the rumors of it being Real Madrid, only enhanced in terms of his position in the team, but also the speculation increased as the season went on. So no sort of huge surprise in terms of him deciding to leave. But having said that, I, I thought maybe his mind would have been swayed from the celebrations that we saw last week. But he's cold-hearted, isn't he? Like you wouldn't even tell from face value that he's made that decision. And from what I've heard, I think the club did actually try to offer him new terms I think quite recently. I'm not saying it was this week or anything to that nature, but they have been trying to get him to commit to a new contract. But I think his head was pretty much made up, and I don't think it's been a decision he's made spontaneously. I think it's been calculated, it's been measured. I think it's been a couple of years probably in the making. And that's what probably hurts right now to hear because, with Real Madrid, they are renowned to get players on a free transfer, and they're also renowned to unsettle players and liaise with them in the background when they shouldn't be doing that, should be through the club. So there has been sort of speculation or rumors to suggest that Real Madrid and Trent Alexander have spoken for about a couple of years, and it was in fact Real Madrid who enforced it onto Trent to say, "Look, if you want us, to sign you, you have to play out your contract." And if that is to be true, then yeah, you can't help but feel anger and frustration towards Trent Alexander-Arnold. But of course, we'll never know. I guess. Well, we might know in the future, but as it stands, we don't know if there is any truth to that. Um, in his announcement video, he mentioned that it was a personal decision, that he wanted a change of environment and a fresh challenge, which I completely understand. I completely can kind of agree with in terms of him wanting to do that. I feel like in the manner of how he's carried himself, he hasn't done it in a very classy way. He's made comments in the past where I think he was doing a FIFA video and said that, Real Madrid can buy me on the game, but it's not going to happen in real life. So to say remarks like that and then you've just gone on to join Real Madrid, you know, it's fake in terms of, the comments that came out of his mouth. And of course, we have a rivalry with Real Madrid. Whether, rival fans be like, no, you don't. We do. We always seem to face them in the Champions League. We've had two finals with them in recent years and we lost twice as well. So there is a rivalry. It's a European rivalry that we have with Real Madrid. Two teams that have won a lot of Champions League titles over the years. And to go to a rival in that manner, that doesn't sit well with me as well. But I did ask myself this question earlier on today. Is it because it's Real Madrid that it hurts, or is it because he's leaving Liverpool Football Club? I think it's a bit of both. I think because it's Real Madrid, it stings a little bit more just because in terms of how they operate. They used the likes of Marca, the media outlet, to their advantage. They try to enforce, you know, clubs to sell their players, or in this situation, speak to the players in the background and try and get them to commit to Real Madrid. Of course, they tried to do it with Alfonso Davies, and that didn't work out for them. So with Trent, I feel like they've got Jude Bellingham, who's very close mates with him. I'm sure he had words more than one and two, uh, to encourage Trent to make the move and come over to Madrid, which is funny because we tried to sign Bellingham all those years ago. So we probably thought, Trent was being, an agent for us to try and get him on board. It probably flipped and it's worked out the other way. So I think for me, if he had joined any other club, it would still be disappointing. Because if he'd gone to a Man City, I think that really hit us as well. Because that's one of our sort of rivals when it comes to chasing titles. If he'd gone to Barcelona, same kind of feeling. And if he'd gone to like PSG or Bayern, maybe not as much, but end of the day, he's decided to move on and join another club for a fresh challenge, which I understand. But at the same time, when you support a team, that is the dream, right? That is the dream, to play for your boyhood club. Now, I've seen comments from rival content creators who say that, look, let the guy live, let him, fulfill his dream. His dream was to play for Liverpool. He didn't have any dreams to play for Real Madrid. So is it money orientated, or is it for personal goals? I think it's more for personal goals. I think he believes that he can go there and potentially challenge to win a Ballon d'Or. I think that's what he wants. He wants that individual recognition. I think that's what he wants. So I think he could have achieved that at Liverpool, because we are a team that's currently on the up. But he's gone on there, and in terms of money wise, it wasn't really a financial decision. So I wouldn't really put it on him in that way, because I think we were willing to offer him huge salary, and he would have been one of the highest paid defenders in world football. So we were ready to break the bank for him. And in these sort of situations that involve transfers of players leaving and coming in, we always seem to point at FSG. In this situation, I can't really blame FSG. Now, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. But for me, they've probably done what they could in terms of offering him the best contract available. And if he's turned it down, what more could they do, right? Like, they've go up heads and toes above to try and get the guy to stay at the club. But he's already made his mind up. I think he's made his decision from some time ago. There's been rumors to suggest that his brother, who works as his agent, has already been in dialogue with the club. So that hurts in terms of that it feels like we've been mugged off a little bit. He's made comments to say, "Look, I don't want to talk about my contract publicly. I want us to continue to challenge for the title and do things like that." And then to just go the other way, for me, something doesn't sit well with regards to making those kind of comments out loud, but not backing up what you're really saying. So look, rival fans will tell you to, you know what, he came through your academy. You're not really losing out in terms of financial sense, and he needs to go and do bigger things. Because we're Liverpool Football Club, we're the Premier League champions. We are trying to do bigger things right now. We've just won the league title. We've won Champions Leagues over the years, so we are a team on up. We're not, a team that's on decline. We're not that. We're not that club. We're a team that's on the up, and we will be challenging for major honors for years to come. So if he was leaving Liverpool, where Liverpool were, not challenging for honours, I get it. He has every right to go on and, you know, challenge himself, or go to a different league and challenge himself in that manner. But we're one of the best teams in Europe right now, maybe in world football. So, for him to make a decision on that grounds, I don't think it makes sense. I think he was probably subconsciously hoping that Liverpool don't challenge for the title this season, and that's definitely gone the other way. I feel like he was expecting us to be in a more of a transitional period because of Jurgen Klopp, leaving last year. And I think when Jurgen Klopp announced that he's leaving, I think that is what made Trent really, consider his future. And I think that's what swayed him to move elsewhere, because he thought maybe Liverpool aren't going to challenge for years to come. Um, and let me go over to a club that is, notorious for winning trophies. But look, the saying, the grass is always green on the other side, right? When he joins Real Madrid, he's not going to get the same respect there. Let's be honest. And I'm not saying this, because he's leaving now. I'm not trying to be petty or anything. Grant is not the you know, most defensive or the best defensive right back in football. He's far from it. Let's be honest. What separates him from the rest is that he's got supreme passing ability. Um, he's so good. He could probably play in midfield. Like that's the kind of level of passing range he has, and he's a great spark from our right hand side, and that's what makes him you know a unicorn when it comes to a right back. You don't get right backs the way Trent Alexander-Arnold plays football. He's going to go over to Real Madrid, and it's going to be interesting from his point of view where he plays because he could play at right back, he could play in centre midfield. So that's a Trent and a Real Madrid issue. There's nothing for me to dive into too much, but he's not going to get that patience from the fan base, you know, because it's Liverpool Football Club. We see him as one of our own. We were always going to give him that time. We would defend Trent, I've been a content creator for a few years. I'd always try and defend Trent in terms of his overall performances. Of course, when he has poor games, I'll say it out loud as well. But when you protect one of your own, you always try and look out for them in the best way. And I feel like with Trent, he's not going to get that protection there. If he has one or two bad games, he'll know about it straight away. So if he plays at right back, it's not going to be the same for him. It's going to be where he's going to show his true colors and show his character. Can he handle that pressure? Because playing for Liverpool, it involves having a lot of pressure. But going on to Real Madrid is a different level there. As soon as you have one poor performance, forget the result. If you don't play, to their standards, they will outright tell you how it is. So it's not going to be as rosy as he thinks it is going to be. But that's a Trent problem. That's not a Liverpool problem anymore. Um, He's also said a few comments in his video where he's mentioned that he would like to come and watch Liverpool games. He's still a Liverpool fan. I'll be honest with you, I don't think he'll be welcomed in that manner. Um, I'm hearing different sides from Liverpool fans. I'm very disappointed. I'm very annoyed about him leaving the club. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's a rat. I think that's very, very strong to say. Where I'm from, of course, on a rat, that's like the ultimate insult you can give someone. So I wouldn't quite call him a rat, but he's not far off, if I'm being honest with you. Just the way he's handled it very poorly, in my opinion. He could have done it a lot differently. He could have been open with the fans, and I feel like we would have had a bit more respect for him. I've heard a lot of fans also say that, he could have left like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, where, we would have got a transfer fee for him. I get it, but as silly as it sounds, I don't think players think like that. As outsiders, we probably do. I think players are very selfish when it comes to these sort of matters. They only care about themselves and their careers, so it's not really about the club in that manner. Um, Also, we don't know what the relationship is between the player and the owners. He might not have the best of relationships for him. So it's like you being at work and it's your dream job. It's the company that you've always wanted to work for. But if you don't really get along with the management and you want to leave at some point, you're not going to try and leave on the best terms. You'll do it in the most civil way, which is like, you'll announce your resignation and then you'll go in that way. In terms of football terms, he might not think about, let me help Liverpool get some money in as well, because he probably felt he would have got sort of more hate from the fans if he had left in that manner. So for him, it's kind of a no-win situation there, because if he left 2 years ago and we got like a transfer fee for him, we'd still be annoyed. Don't get me wrong, we'll still be annoyed. But I just feel like he's not managed it very well. But only time will tell, if his decision is the right one. Because obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, so for me, if I was a professional footballer, this is the ultimate goal. I wouldn't even think about joining another club unless I've been forced out the door. So that's how it should have been for Trent as well. He's a Scouser, he's from Liverpool, so it should mean a lot more to him. He said it before. When we won the Premier League, it means more to us. You're not showing it, you're not replicating in terms of what you said out loud. So I don't know. And it does kind of feel a little bit like it was premeditated for him, to have discussions behind the scenes because we've all known it's Real Madrid. There is no other club that was linked to Trent. It was always Real Madrid. So, but look, it is what it is. In terms of him leaving, big question is, should he play for the remainder of the season? And my answer is no. He's confirmed his situation. He's addressed that he won't be playing for Liverpool next season. So why involve him in the upcoming fixtures? And that's not me being bitter or petty in that way. The last few games of the season, you've kind of embed as much of the squad players as possible, like we did yesterday. Of course, it didn't go to plan, but you try and see who's got future at the club. Test out little things here and there, playing players that haven't played many games, see how they fit in playing a Premier League fixture. He's not part of our long-term future. So what's the point of having him in the squad? So for me, I wouldn't play him. Even if Bradley's not fit and Gomez, I'm not sure if he's fit anytime soon. Play Quansah on the right hand side. I really couldn't care less because we've won the league now. So right now, the job's done. We had an objective to challenge for the title. We've gone on and won it. So for me, there's no need for us to go any further in that way. Of course, I want to try and get maximum points. I want to go above 90 points. But if that doesn't happen, it is what it is. But this is very disappointing in terms of Trent Alexander-Arnold. I really thought he would have changed his mind and decided to have stayed, thinking, do you know what, the club's just won the league under Arne Slot in his first season. Maybe the future's bright. Maybe the Liverpool are on the up. This is going to be one of many many titles. But he's gone on and left. But look, it is what it is in regards to him leaving. What's the future for Liverpool now? I think we need to sign a right back. If I'm being brutally honest, I know we've got Conor Bradley there. For me, he's a good player, but I don't see him being the answer to our right back situation. I'm not saying he's good enough, but I don't think he's good enough to be a starter. I would like him to be a backup to another right back, and it should probably work out that way for him because if he is automatically Trent's replacement, I think that's a lot of pressure on the young kid, and I think also it's huge boots to fill. And quite recently, he's been picking up a lot of injuries as well, so he's not someone that can be, relied upon either in terms of being available for fixtures. So a right back needs to be addressed. Whether it was part of the plans or not, I couldn't care less. We need to sign a right back. In terms of the profile, we can of course discuss that on another show, but today is more so about the reaction of Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving Liverpool. Um, but yeah, this one hurts. I can't lie. I'm not going to say too many good things, and I'm not going to say too many hateful things, but it is one of those situations where I feel like, you know what? Yeah, I feel like you've not really assessed your situation there. I think you're going over there for personal ambitions, which is to win a Ballon d'Or. But is that is that what's going to enhance your legacy? Maybe so. Maybe for him that is what he wants. But I feel like when your career's all said and done, it's mainly about the number of trophies you win, right? That's what we look at. If you win a Ballon d'Or, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing accolade, but it's not the highlight of Solskjaer. If they just won a Ballon d'Or and won one or two league titles and no other trophy, then it doesn't really it doesn't really heighten your legacy in that way. Multiple trophies, adds more weight to your legacy. So look, it's disappointing. I can't lie. But in my last video, I did a video in March when we heard rumors about Trent Alexander-Arnold possibly moving to Real Madrid, which looks like is going to be the case now. Um, I said I wish him good luck. Um, I don't want to sound rude. I do still kind of wish him luck, but not entirely in that manner. I think he's handled it very poor, and his departure certainly leaves a sour taste. Uh, I, do I wish him bad luck? No, I'm not that sort of person. As if you watch my channel for in terms of my personality and my character, that's not what I would wish upon anyone. Um, And I know fans will have a different opinion. They will go and say he's a rat and he's a snake. And look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to tell people how to react, but I can only tell you how I feel and give you my two pence. Um, and I'm very annoyed that he's leaving. I can't hide that. I am very disappointed and annoyed that he's leaving. Um, but at the same time, look, he's decided to move on, and so should we. We are Liverpool Football Club. Let's not forget that. Great players have left us in the past, and we replaced them. So it's just part of the football cycle. We keep it moving, and we'll see what the future holds for next season. But yeah, that's my reaction to the Trent Alexander-Arnold announcement today. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Um, and that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming shows, I'll be doing a Premier League match week 35 review tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be touching on the Trent news again, so make sure to tune in for that. And then we'll have a match preview lined up for, I think, Thursday. We've got Arsenal this weekend, so hopefully we do a lot better than what we did against Chelsea. Play a bit of a stronger team, minus Trent, because I don't think Trent should be selected. And then we'll hopefully do a watch along and a match reaction on that day as well. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.